Boom! I'm Thundercloud here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame in Guyra. Welcome to Sunday Songs Live Lyrical Poetry Reading. And tonight, what have I got for you? Well, we're going to celebrate not just a great Australian poet, but the loss of a great world lyricist, musician, the one, the only Lee Scratch Perry, passed away 1 week ago. So I'll be reading out some of his stuff, some of my old stuff, some of my new stuff, some of Tug Dumley's Sun Songs here. That's Tug, and that's his book, Sun Songs. Tug is a very funny man, and you'll be hearing some of that. Plus a bit of old bush ballads from the Pacific Book of Bush Ballads from anonymous authors of old songs. But to kick it off, I'm going to start with Sacha Seahorse and a little bit of a reggae beat. So let's go. This is something I wrote a while ago. Well, one day I was sitting under a tree. I decided to go for a swim in the sea. I dived right in, and to my despair there were bits of plastic floating everywhere. A seahorse came and swam up to me. He said, "There's plastic everywhere, it's killing me." I listened to the seahorse choking right there. He said, "Your human poisonous pollution's everywhere. There's poisonous plastic all through the sea. It's hurting much more than you can see. Little bits of plastic look like krill. The whales eat it. It's making them ill. There's broken plastic all through the sea. It's killing the animals. There's bits stuck in me. So much plastic bioaccumulation. PCBs in human blood in every nation. Human plastic pollution right through the sea. Making all animals sick. Killing you, killing me. Human poisonous chemicals everywhere. Are you all stupid? Why don't you care?" I listened to the seahorse. He said, "Clean up the lands, clean the oceans, the earth be nurturing humans." The seahorse said, "Thundercloud, you must be vocal, by plastic free, buy it local." Seahorse said, "Thundercloud, you must yell out, tell the people to stop putting litter about, reduce and reuse, recycle your waste. Fed up with this plastic ocean taste. If humans don't stop polluting the sea, you won't be able to swim here with me." There was one more thing the seahorse said to me. He said, "Look after the planet and walk softly. Reduce your waste, recycle, repair what you can. Make sure only your footprints are left in the sand." The seahorse swam away. He winked at me. I walked up the beach and I picked up 3 bits of plastic. Some grot had left behind, not thinking of the earth, not the nurturing kind. Grot was spotted by a ranger, hid by a tree. "You grot, you let your plastic fry free." Ranger was given grot a littering fine. He winked at me for being so kind. The ranger said that I had made his day. "You must have spoken to the seahorse, eh?" I sat under my tree and I started to think, and the ranger walked away and he just gave me a wink. And all that was going around in my head was the wink of the seahorse and what the seahorse said. Human plastic pollution all through the sea, making all animals sick, killing you, killing me. Human poisonous chemicals everywhere. Are you all stupid? Why don't you care? Clean the oceans, the earth be nurturing humans. Clean up the lands. Tell the people to stop putting litter about. You must yell out. And all that was going around in my head was the wink of the seahorse. And what the seahorse said. Okay. That's the Seahorse.
Anaconda's 20 to 50% off Father's Day sale.
And we'll just stop that there. All right. So, moving right along now, we're going to get on to a bit of a Lee Scratch Perry. Now, the late great Lee Scratch Perry, well, what am I going to tell you about old Lee Scratch Perry? Okay. Lee Scratch Perry, born Rainford Hugh Perry on the 20th of March 1936 and passed away just last Sunday on the 29th of August 2021 at the age of 85, was a Jamaican record producer and singer, noted for his innovative studio techniques and production style. I'm getting this from Wikipedia, by the way. Perry was a pioneer in the 1970s development of dub music, with his early adoption of remixing and studio effects to create new instrumental or vocal versions of existing reggae tracks. He worked with and produced for a while with a variety of artists, include Bob Marley and the Wailers, Junior Mervyn, the Congos, Max Romeo, Adrian Sherwood, Beastie Boys, yes, even the Beastie Boys, the Clash, the Orb, and Aria. So, moving right along, one of his most famous ones you might have heard of, Iron Shirt, which I'm going to do now. Lucifer, son of the morning, I'm gonna chase you out to earth. Wah! I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase Satan out of earth. I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase the devil out of earth. I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race. I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race. Satan is an evilest man, but him can chucks it on a man. So when I check him, my lass in hand, and if him slip I gone with him hand, I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase Satan out of earth. I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase the devil out of earth. I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race. I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race. Him halfy drop, him fork and run. Him can't stand up to Jaja's son. Him halfy left ya with him gun. Dig him off with him bomb. I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase Satan out of earth. I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase the devil out of earth. I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race. Satan is a evilest man, but him can chucks it on a man. So when I check him, my lass in hand, and if him slip I gone with him hand. I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase Satan out of earth. I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase the devil out of earth. I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race. I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race. Move ya with your gun, Miss Effie left ya with the bomb. Oh yeah, move ya with your bomb, Miss Effie left ya with your gun. Lee Scratch Perry and Max Romeo, who was the other one who recorded that with in the early 70s. Another one of Lee Scratch Perry's great songs that he mixed was Small Axe by Bob Marley and the Wailers. Small Axe. Why boastest thyself, for evil man, playing smart and not being clever? Oh no, I said you're working iniquity to achieve vanity. Yeah, if so, but the goodness of Jah I dureth forever. If you are the big tree, we are the small axe, sharpened to cut you down, well sharp, ready to cut you down. These are the words of my master, keep on telling me, no weak heart shall prosper, oh no they can. And whosoever diggeth a pit, Lord, shall fall in it, shall fall in it. Whosoever diggeth the pit shall bear in it, shall bear in it. If you are the big tree, we are the small axe, sharpened to cut you down, well sharp, ready to cut you down. And whosoever diggeth a pit shall fall in it, shall fall in it. And whosoever diggeth a pit shall bear in it, shall bear in it. If you are the big tree, we have a small axe, ready to cut you down, well sharp, sharpened to cut you down. And if you are the big tree, let me tell you this, we are the small axe, ready to cut you down, well sharp, sharpened to cut you down. And that's, songwriters, Bob Marley, Lee Perry. Wonderful lessons there from the late great Bob Marley and Lee Perry, of course, who we are celebrating Lee Perry's life of 85 years, one of the great reggae dub pioneers, and he's passed on, but his legacy remains with us forever. All right, some other legacies that are with us forever come from here. This is the Pacific Book of Bush Ballads, selected by Douglas Stewart and Nancy Keesing. And they've both moved on, but both of them really do need to be celebrated because they did a lot of work to preserve and keep and publish bush ballads. And the first two that I'm going to do today are going to be a couple that were, they're by anonymous. And the reason they're anonymous is because we don't know who wrote them. So the first one, called Stir the Wallaby Stew. Poor Dad got 5 years or more, as everybody knows, and now he lives in Maitland Jail with broad arrows on his clothes. He branded all of Brown's clean skins and never left a tail. So I'll relate the family's woes since Dad got put in jail. So stir the wallaby stew, make soup of the kangaroo tail. I tell you things is pretty tough since Dad got put in jail. Our sheep were dead a month ago, not rot but bloomin' fluke. Our cow was boozed last Christmas Day by my big brother Luke. And mother has a shearer co forever within hail. The family will have grown a bit since Dad got put in jail. So stir the wallaby stew, make soup of the kangaroo tail. I tell you things is pretty tough since Dad got put in jail. Our best got shook upon a bloke, he's gone we don't know where. He used to act about the shed, but he ain't acted square. I've sold the buggy on my own, the place is up for sale. That won't be all that isn't junked when Dad gets out of jail. So stir the wallaby stew, make soup of the kangaroo tail. I tell you, things is pretty tough since Dad got put in jail. They let Dad out before his time to give us a surprise. He came and slowly looked around and gently blessed our eyes. He shook hands with the shearer co and said he thought things stale, so left him here to shepherd us and battle back to Dale. So stir the wallaby stew, make soup of the kangaroo tail. I tell you, things is pretty tough since Dad got put in jail. All right, so that's the first one I'm doing tonight. And the crows keep flying up is the next one, and it's by Anonymous as well. So we don't know who wrote it. The crows keep flying up, boys, the crows keep flying up. The dog he's seen and whimpered, boys thought he was a pup. The lost was found, we brought him round and took him from the place. While the ants were swarming on the ground, the crows was saying grace. A nice little short one. All right, one more. What am I going to do? Clancy of the Overflow, I think. No, I'm not going to do that. This is more of a lyrical poem, bush ballad than anything. Next one's called How McDougal Topped the Score by Thomas E. Spencer. Now, it's a pretty famous poem, but I'd never heard of it until I was speaking with my younger son, Sacha, and he said, "Oh yeah, Dad, we're doing How McDougal Topped the Score by Banjo Patterson." I've never heard of that one. So I looked it up. It's actually by Thomas E. Spencer. But anyway, at least he knows that now too, who wrote it. A peaceful place is Piper's Flat. The folk that live around, they keep themselves by keeping sheep and turning up the ground. But the climate is erratic, and the consequences are the struggle with the elements is everlasting war. We plough and sow and harrow, then sit down and pray for rain. And when we all get flooded out and have to start again, but the folk are now rejoicing as they've never rejoiced before, for we played Molongo cricket and McDougal topped the score. Molongo had a head on it and challenged us to play a single innings match for lunch, the losing team to pay. We were not great guns at cricket, but we couldn't well say no, so we all began to practice and we let the reaping go. We scoured the flat for 10 miles round to muster up our men, but when the list was totalled, we could only number 10. Then up spoke big Tom Brady, he was always slow to speak, and he said, "What price McDougal, who lives down at Cooper's Creek?" So we sent for old McDougal, and he stated in reply that he'd never played at cricket, but he'd half a mind to try. He couldn't come to practice because he was getting in his hay, but he guessed he'd show the beggars from Molongo how to play. Now, McDougal was a Scotchman and a canny one at that, and he started into practice with a paling for a bat. He got Mrs. Mac to bowl to him, but she couldn't run at all, so he trained his sheepdog, Pincher, how to scout and fetch the ball. Now, Pincher was no puppy, he was old and worn and grey, but he understood McDougal and accustomed to obey. When McDougal cried out, "Fetch it!" he would fetch it in a trice, but until the word was "Drop it!" he would grip it like a vice. And each succeeding night they played until the light grew dim. Sometimes McDougal struck the ball, sometimes the ball struck him. Each time he struck, the ball would plough a furrow in the ground, and when he missed, the impetus would turn him 3 times round. The fatal day at length arrived, the day that was to see Malongo bite the dust or Piper's flat knocked up a tree. Malongo's captain won the toss and sent his men to bat, and they gave some leather hunting to the men of Piper's flat. When the ball sped where McDougal stood, firm planted in his track, he shut his eyes and turned him round and stopped it with his back. The highest score was 22, the total 66, when Brady sent a Yorker down that scattered Johnson's sticks. Then Piper's flat went into bat for glory and renown, but like the grass before the scythe, our wickets tumbled down. 9 wickets down for 17, with 50 more to win. Our captain heaved a heavy sigh and sent McDougal in. £10, you'll lose it, cried a barracker from the town, but McDougal said, I'll take it, mon, and planked the money down. Then he girded up his moleskins in a self-reliant style, threw off his hat and boots and faced the bowler with a smile. He held the bat the wrong side out, and Johnson with a grin stepped lightly to the bowling crease and sent a wobbler in. McDougal spooned it softly back and Johnson waited there, but McDougal, crying, Fetch it, started running like a hare. Malongo shouted, Victories, out as sure as eggs, when Pincher started through the crowd and ran through Johnson's legs. He seized the ball like lightning, then ran behind a log, and McDougal kept on running while Malongo chased the dog. They chased him up, they chased him down, they chased him round, and then he darted through the slip rail as the scorer shouted 10. McDougal puffed, Malongo swore, and excitement was intense as the scorer marked down 20. Pincher cleared a barbed wire fence. Let us head him, shrieked Malongo. Brain the mongrel with a bat. Run it out, good old McDougal, yelled the men of Piper's Flat. And McDougal kept on jogging, and then Pincher doubled back, and the scorer counted 40 as they raced across the track. McDougal's legs were going fast, Malongo's breath was gone, but still Malongo chased the dog. McDougal struggled on. When the scorer shouted 50, then they knew the chase would cease, and McDougal gasped out, Drop it, as he dropped within his crease. Then Pincher dropped the ball, and instinctively he knew discretion was the wiser plan, and disappeared from view. And as Malongo's beaten men exhausted lay around, we raised McDougal's shoulder high and bore him from the ground. We bore him to McGuinness's, where lunch was ready laid, and filled him up with whisky punch, for which Malongo paid. We drank his health in bumpers, and we cheered him 3 times 3, and then when Malongo got its breath, Malongo joined the spree. And the critics say they never saw a cricket match like that, when McDougal broke the record in the game at Piper's Flat. And the folk are jubilating as they never did before, for we played Malongo cricket and McDougal topped the score. Yeah. So that's by Thomas E. Spencer. Well, moving on to something a bit more modern now. This is Tug Dumley's book, Sun Songs. I picked this up about, 2 years ago in Nimbin, 2 years ago in Nimbin. Tug Dumley had a book release, and this is it, Poems by Tug Dumley, published in 2018. So the first one I'm going to do is Sunday Morning Walk in Nimbin, because that's where I bought it. he came to Nimbin. Tug's also a 2 or 3 time winner of the Nimbin Performance Poetry World Cup. So he's a very good poet, and he's done a lot for promoting poetry throughout Australia, and poets, of course. Sunday morning walk in Nimbin. Along the lane under the tree that killed it, a car. Airbags exploded, passenger door burping to the cows. I give it a forensic. Recent, but not totally fresh. No cobwebs yet, though. Stereo and hubcaps jacked. Nose punched to a V by the tree. Scraps of police tape. Probably not fatal, pretty intact. But who am I to judge true impact? There's a salting of glass on the floor, a kid's book, some burnt CDs and coins. Like the coins I found as a kid on the floor of that wreck in the police impound that backed onto the primary school. The ones I stole and washed the blood off and used to buy a flying fox. My mother turned me into the cops, I confessed. Funny thing, she didn't suspect. There was no need to spill. It was a seamless crime. But then I've got this confessional streak a mile wide. I've always felt compelled to split the proceeds of a guilty conscience. Some might see that as noble. I've come to see it more as attention seeking by other means. I leave the coins this time, though there's maybe enough for a coffee, but I've learnt something about consequences, karma, and the kind of guilt you perversely befriend. I'm not really all that zen, but hey man, this is Nimbin, and I'm 50, not 10. Yeah. I was going to do another one here. God's funny old stuff. No, I won't. This is a found poem in Cooma. How sweet to find a poem on the footpath that doesn't start and end with Shayley sucks or Wazzle was here. But there it was, etched with a conviction to outweather decades. Shane rocks the world, and all the pretty girls can rest upon the knee of Jesus. Enigmatic, evocative, demanding to be puzzled at, who was the Shane who so boldly carved this room in the concrete of a Cooma street? A modern marvel? One who, having spent his rhetorical stock, failing to coax from his mistress her chastity, was now washing his hands of the whole flock, saving themselves for the Saviour's knee. That knee, that's what got me. Not in the Lord's arms or bosom, with all the pretty girls be blessed, but rest upon the knee of Jesus. A cracked world joined in a small world stressed. It had been a bleak day, Shane. 6-hour drive from Sydney, hungover and hunted by murderous semis, clocking the monotonous mounds of roadkill I was trying not to become. I checked in, the lone guest of a Bates motel, and took a walk through the alpine dust, armed with a bottle of rough red in defence against the cold and my own company. Sought the church where my mother grew, maybe seeking something of myself in the impossible gap of years in the melancholy proximity to my flesh's past. I found no trace of the minister's daughter, but I did find your poem, Shane, a little wonder in my path. I studied the words in the dying light, trying to riddle out the narrative of you, the pretty girls, and Jesus. But at best could only second guess. You lent me a spark. In years to come, your blazon will remain testament to a man of fire and heart. Decades down, others may stop and wonder, ponder your puzzle with conjecture and rumour. Who was this Shane who rocked the world? Enigmatic street scribe of Cooma. Shane rocks the world, and all the pretty girls can rest upon the knee of Jesus. What a great poem, and what a great poet Tug Dumley is, really. Seriously. All right, moving right along now. I'm going to do something by Henry Kendall. There we go, that's him there, Henry Kendall. Was an Australian poet of high renown, being called Australia's greatest lyric poet. Oh, he was, but that's me now. Jokes, maybe not. He's particularly well known for his poems dealing with Australian life and landscape, such as Bellbirds, Christmas Creek, and on a cattle track, his poem about the death of his baby daughter, Araluen. It's also highly acclaimed. Kendall was born in Ulladulla in New South Wales on the 18th of April 1839. And this one's called Wild Kangaroo. The rain clouds have gone to the deep, the east like a furnace doth glow, and the day springing flooding the steep, and sheening the landscape below. Oh, ye who are gifted with souls that delight in the music of birds, come forth where the scattered mist rolls, and listen to eloquent words. Oh, ye who are fond of the sport, and would travel yon wilderness through, gather each to his place for a life-stirring chase in the wake of the wild kangaroo. Gather each to his place for a life-stirring chase in the wake of the wild kangaroo. Beyond the wild rents of the fog, the trees are illumined with gold, and the bark of the shepherd's brave dog shoots away from the sheltering fold. Down the depths of yon rock-bordered glade, a torrent goes foaming along, and the blind owls retire into shade, and the bellbird beginneth its song. By the side of that yawning abyss where the vapours are hurrying to, we will merrily pass, looking down at the grass for the tracks of the wild kangaroo. We will merrily pass, looking down at the grass for the tracks of the wild kangaroo. Oh, brothers, away to the woods, Euroka hath clambered the hill, but the morning there seldom intrudes where the night shadows slumber on still. We will roam o'er those forest lands wild, and thread the dark masses of vines where the winds are like the voice of a child as singing aloft in the pines. We must keep down the glee of our hounds. We must steal through the glittering dew, and the breezes shall sleep as we cautiously creep to the haunts of the wild kangaroo. And the breezes shall sleep as we cautiously creep to the haunts of the wild kangaroo. When we pass through the stillness like death, the swamp fowl and timorous quail like the leaves in a hurricane's breath will start from their nests in the vale, and the forester snuffing the air will bound from his covert so dark, while we follow along in the rear as arrows speed on to their mark. Then swift hounds will bring him to bay, and we'll send forth a hearty halloo as we gather them in to be all at the fall at the death of the wild kangaroo. As we gather them in to be at the fall at the death of the wild kangaroo. All right. Okay, moving right along now. I'm going to do a few of my own. You got one of my own earlier on. But here's a few. Well, where are we? We're currently locked down. When was this one written? This one must have been written, I think, like today or yesterday or something like that. Locked down inside the fear of others' Father's Day, without sisters and brothers. Fear of dying with a life unlived, fear of death and being unforgived. Time to reflect about how I treat myself, abuse this body or nurture my health. Fear of pain and take the easy route of pleasure, self-indulgence and not go out. Time to drop my unhealthy shit, put the exercise clothes on and go for it. Stop the sugar, chocolate, chips and junk, become slim and fit and spunky hunk. And on the other hand, I could just complain about the pain or the lockups or also the rain. Well, when I listen to my inner voice tells me that I have a choice to be strong and fit, nurture this body, or sit inside and be a big nobody, feeling sluggish, unwell, and never find. Our biggest choice is how we spend our time. I could moan, complain that life isn't great, or get off my bum and become what I create. Fear of pain and complain about the rain, but everybody knows no pain, no gain. With what exactly are you filling your glass, and when was the last time you moved this ass? Is this thing fate that you accept, or will I take control and self-direct? The less I speak, the more I listen. I can hear the rainfall. It's truly pissing. Yeah. Little short one. Not what you think, not what you say, not how you sink, not where you stay. You are that you are, I am that I am. How close is far? Where is I can? And if you're liking this, give it a thumbs up and share it too with your friends so they can see it. This one's, well, I call this social media emoticons. Looking for likes, social reinforcement of the ego, hearts of encouragement and confirmation bias, cares about virtue signalling. I am angry and outraged, giving away power, shock at the awesomeness or stupidity, laughing brings joy from external sources. Comment on the nature of social media emoticons, sharing a copy of someone else's thoughts, waiting anxiously for the next notification about my story in the matrix of masks. Fake book. Ooh, this next one was written a day ago, and it's it's not about the I am, it's about the I am. Fearless or fear of death, feeding lives to the matrix, butterflies emerging with wings, babies born clean and amazing. Develops the illusion of masks. The play of life has many roles, shadows of puppets projected on a wall. Familiarity breeds complacency. Beyond thinking is stepping out of the box. pick up the key, open the door, shedding skins and squinting at the light. The labyrinth is the body an illusion, running from shadows forever or not. Not a mask in a matrix of obedience as a caged bird is set free, goldfish tipped from the bowl into an ocean, free of the craving and fear, playing in duality, cessation of being the self beyond duality, drifting down the stream, timeless being unfolded forever, bridging the existence of timelessness, the infinite I am, beyond the thinking level of the mind. All right, the next one's a limerick I wrote. So limericks, what's a limerick? A limerick is a 5-line poem with an A rhyming structure. Generally, the first 2 lines and the 5th line are composed of 6 metric feet, which is 3 metric feet, which is 9 syllables, and then line 3 and 4. So 1, 2, and 5 are 3 metric feet, 9 syllables, and lines 3 and 4 are 2 metric feet, 6 syllables. There once was a country called Australia whose governance was quite a failure. The oligarchs donated, the people frustrated, while the politicians danced in regalia. Something like that. Oh, yes, and on that note, have you heard about the new doomsday variant? Oh, well, be careful. You don't want to catch it. The doomsday variant makes elephants fly and makes crocodiles grow 100 metres high, vampire flies that feast on humans and dogs, plus giant purple pigs that eat hardwood logs. The doomsday variant is coming of COVID-22. You don't want to know what it will do to you. It will take away your fear, and it's like an ointment. You'll all be thriving without a government. The doomsday variant is no laughing joke. I know a mate who got it from a fella's passive smoke. His fingers were blown up like big blue balloons and his feet turned into antique silver spoons. You can catch it once, twice, or even thrice. Eating chocolate is the cure and our best medical advice. And if you see flying elephants, stop having fun. If you see giant crocodiles, just friggin' run! And that's about it from me here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame for this Sunday. Sunday too far away. Sunday song sessions. And before I go, I'm going to read you something out of my book, Love in Nimbin. Love in Nimbin. Well, I wake up each day like I always did, and despite how I look on the outside, I still feel like a kid, but I know much more than I knew when I was young, so I'll share a bit of wisdom from the tip of my tongue. I get up in the morning and drink lemon water, and I do meditation yoga just like I order. I breathe deep in and out through my nose, and I stretch on my body from my head to my toes. And before anything else at all is done, I'm sitting there meditating, looking at the sun, because the sun is arising every day, and I feel like a kid despite hair that's grey. Well, I wake up each day and I feel like a kid, and I wake up each day like I always did, and I jump out of bed and I give a shout, yippee-hoo-ay, a new day is about. I run outside and I start to play. Oh, I'm so happy, another new day. I can't wait to dance, draw a picture or two. I love meeting new people. I hope I'll see you. I jump out of bed at the start of the day and I scream and I shout, hip hip hooray, a new day, a new dawn. The sun is arising, the cows in the paddock, the cows are all smiling. The kangaroos jump as they spring through the day and the kookaburras scream, yippee-yi-yi. I wake up each morning like I always did. Despite my middle age, I still feel like a kid. I'm running about and being so happy because I couldn't imagine living life feeling crappy. A friendly hello and a wave in the street. There's so many interesting people to meet. I think I'll go and have a coffee in town, cheer someone up if they're wearing a frown. I'll jump out of bed like I always did. I'm 51,000 years old, but I still feel like a kid. The sun will go down at the end of the day, but I feel like a kid despite hair that's grey. I like running around and giving a shout and making people happy when I'm out and about. Because life is much more fun than moaning and groaning. You can spend time with friends or just on your own, being happy and carefree, just like a kid. Jump out of bed every day like you always did. Because life's too short to be angry and mad, fearful, unhappy and really, really sad. So I live my life happy and I live my life well because I can't for the life of me think why I'd like to live life like hell. So I'll jump out of bed like I always did. I'm 51,000 years old, but I still feel like a kid. I jump out of bed and I go for a run, excited about my birthday when I'll be 51,001. Yeah, I'll go to bed at the end of the day. I'll be all tuckered out with not much more to stay, but in the morning I'll jump out of bed like I always did, with joy and gratitude, just like a kid. And I'll enjoy life with a smile, not a frown, because I can't think of a reason to live life feeling down. And there's so much I'm grateful for every day. Fresh air, fresh water, friends, family, what more can I say? Except buy my book, Love in Nimbin. It's available on Amazon. Love in Nimbin by Thundercloud Repairian, washing away the garbage, leaving behind rainbows. Everybody knows my mum calls me James, and I'm here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Love in Nimbin. Last in Nimbin, that's my other one. That's the first edition. There's limited copies of those. You can't actually buy that one anymore, but you can buy the second edition, which is this one here. Now, Lust in Nimbin. I'm going to read to you the legend of the Bombagund. Henceforth the sleuthen warp was hest. No more warp keelest. Legend of the Bombagund, peace now reigns, but the ribs were blood. Over there in future earth, father tells his son a story. Long ago the ribs were blood. This story will be gory. Henceforth the sleuthen warp was hest. No more warp keelest. Legend of the Bombagund, peace now reigns, but the ribs were blood. Warrender came in a gust of whoosh. Against no warp did he push. The pushers and their ribs of blood all laid down the Bombagund. The Bombagund henceforth no gotten, but the ribs of blood are not forgotten. The peace now reigns, not the Bombagund. Warp's ribs of blood no longer run. Henceforth the sleuthen warp will never warp keelless, no more ever. Legend of the Bombagund, peace now reigns, and the ribs of love. Warrender stood between the others. He said, "Hey, warps, kill me, your brother." The warps, they answered, "Why? But no, there's ribs of blood upon the snow. There's Bombagund no need have gotten, but the ribs of blood are not forgotten." Warrender came to heal the earth, and the ribs now run clear rainbow birth. Henceforth they stopped the ribs of blood, and the ribs now flowing, ribs of love. Warrender stopped the Bombagund, and the ribs of blood no longer run. "Tell me, Dad, what's a Bombagund?" "'Twas a machine to make the ribs of blood run, son." Henceforth the sleuthen warp was hest, no more warp keelest. Legend of the Bombagund, the ribs now flow clear rainbow love. Legend of the Bombagund, Part 2. Bullocks flummoxed through the air, the sound of screaming sting everywhere, the smell of scorch upon the nose, the specialness it stained the clothes. Warenda whooshed into the land, there was ribs of blood upon the sand. Warenda called, "Hey Warps, yes you, these Bombagund is killing you." The Warps answered, "We don't want no more the ribs of blood, no bloody warp. We do not think that warp is funny, but we've invested lots of money. How can we stop the Bombagunds so the ribs of blood no longer run?" Warenda said, "The Bombagund, put them down, make a huge pile far from town, ground them down and make no warp, destroy Bombagunds forevermore." They piled the Bombagunds up high, a giant zilla pile up to the sky. They took the biggest Bombagund, the very last unrusty one. Warenda flew above the pile, Warenda and the Warps all smiled. And they dropped that last big Bombagund, the very last unrusty one. The Bombagunds were nevermore, no ribs of blood upon the shore. They stopped and never ran again, and the Warps became very good friends. Henceforth the sleuth and Warp was hest, a pile of molten metal was left. Warenda stopped the Warps. Somehow they made robots, tools and homes and plough, no ribs of blood across the earth, just peace and love, a new rebirth. Henceforth they stopped the Bombagund. Warp's ribs of blood no longer run. The sleuth and Warp was gone forever. The Bombagund careless no more ever. Warenda stopped the killing and fear, and the Bombagunds they disappeared. Warenda left when the warp was over, and the ribs of blood washed from the clover. The grass was green, the snow was white. There were no Bombagund flashes at night. Blossom cleared from the sky, the singing birds were heard up high. The acrid scorch it left the nose, the ribs were clean to wash the clothes. Henceforth the sleuth and Warp was hest. No more warp, careless, legend of the Bombagund. Peace now reigns and the ribs are no longer blood. Part 3. Legend of the Bombagund. Part 3. The last Bombagund. Huckido walked towards the sun. He looked about and did not run. At night he'd sleep upon the ground. Boyhood was lost, manhood found. He'd swim in creeks, seek from the land, till he came to the ancient forest grand. The leaves were high, the trees were tall, the rainforest birds gave a welcome call. The canopy closed with no sunlight, and the little hairy men came out at night. Huckido, you'll come with us, we want to show you this old bus. The bus is hidden in a cave, you're a man now, you can be brave. They walked up to the sacred mountain, thunderclouds rained a fountain. The cave was high, cathedral rocks of stalactites, crystal outcrops. Huckido was bespeeched, his eyes didn't deceive. 'Twas a machine that Huckido could not perceive. He said to the little men, "Why you trick us? What is this machine? It is not a bus. You brought me here. What is this found? Is this the very last Bombagund I've found?" He picked up the Bombagund and walked outside. He aimed it, fired. The forest was fried. A screaming sound, sprucialness, buloxum and splatter. The forest black, flattened like a nuclear flatter. Huckido screamed when he opened his eyes. He'd never experienced such bad surprise. The Bombagund scorch made a big disinter figure, a crater and buloxum dust when he pulled the trigger. It cut through the forest, blackened and fried, left a scar and a crater 500 metres wide. Hakido yelled, "My eyes don't deceive, death and destruction, dead earth I perceive. Is this the very last Bombagund I have found? This must be destroyed, must be broken down. It's not my decision, it belongs to the tribe. We must sit in circles, collective decide. This Bombagund thing is a careless machine. If it gets out, people might become mean. We've peace now on earth, we all live with love. This Bombagund thing could destroy all of the above." Hakido put it back into the cave, the hairy men said. "You are so brave." Hakido returned home from his walkabout. A man now of the tribe gave a joyous shout. "Henceforth I have decision news. There's one Bombagund left. No lies, I tell truths. Decision time now, we must be brave. I left it hidden up there in the cave." "Thundercloud Dado, tell us," Hakido said, "the legend of the Bombagund, the one in your head. Tell us about the Bombagund I have found." And Thundercloud gathered the whole tribe around. "Henceforth, from before," Thundercloud said, "the blue and the red teams with Bombagunds played. Bombagund machines came from warps who supplied the sleuth and warp rivers of blood. So many died. It all came down to just one man, the one called Warenda, who whooshed into the land. Between the blue and the red warps he stood all alone, and he brought world peace to the earth, all on his own. Henceforth, the sleuth and warp was hest. No more warp, careless. Legend of the Bombagund, peace now reigns, but the ribs were blood. And that's it from me here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after it rains. I'm Thundercloud Repairian, and my mum calls me James. Yeah, and I'll see you on Wednesday night for Wednesday Words, live here from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Now, don't forget to give it a thumbs up or a heart, share it about, and also if you're watching this on YouTube, push the subscribe button there, and then you'll get notified every time that we put up a new video and you can watch us. So yeah, thank you very much from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. I'll see you later, and I'm just going to have my cup of tea now, which is still pretty warm, here in Seahorse Medicine Cafe. And I've got a little special one. Okay, there's an encore performance for you. This one's another one about seahorses. I'll see if I can find a tune to go with it, and I'll take you out with a song. Here we go. This will do. Sacha Seahorse. This is dedicated to my son Sacha, here on Father's Day. Sacha Seahorse was thought of as strange. Sacha Seahorse believed he could bring about change. I'm Sacha Seahorse, a nurturing man. I give my love freely just because I can. One full moon night the sea became rough. A cyclone hit the reef. Sea life was tough. A ship became wrecked and stuff on a reef. Seahorse could see this could cause grief. Sacha Seahorse said, I can help in this strife. I can bring change by saving one life. One seahorse can bring about change. I'm a nurturing seahorse, this isn't strange. So Sacha Seahorse swam into the deep, darkest part of the ocean where the dolphins sleep. Woke all the dolphins, said, come with me, we've sailors to rescue from the cyclonic sea. They swam to the reef and they looked about. They heard a sailor give a stricken shout. So the dolphins swam over and picked up the man and swam him through the storm to the dry land. Sacha Seahorse said, I can help when there's strife. I can bring about change by saving one life. Just one seahorse can bring about change. I'm a nurturing seahorse, this isn't strange. They rescued the sailors working through the night. Sacha Seahorse coordinated the rescue flight. Not one life was lost, everyone was saved. Sacha Seahorse got a medal for being brave. Sacha Seahorse said, I can help when there's strife, I can bring about change by saving one life. Just one seahorse can bring about change. I'm a nurturing seahorse, this isn't strange. Sacha Seahorse said, I can help when there's strife, I can bring about change by saving one life. One seahorse can bring about change. I'm a nurturing seahorse, this isn't strange. Lots of love, I'll see you soon. Next Wednesday word, Sacha Seahorse said, I can help when there's strife, I can bring about change by saving one life. Just one seahorse can bring about change. I'm a nurturing seahorse, this isn't strange. Thank you very much, and I'll see you Wednesday for Wednesday Words here from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame in Guyra.